TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donation. Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin, broadcast from Jerusalem. The United States is evacuating non-essential staff from its embassies in the Middle East as tensions with the Islamic Republic of Iran simmer. The Ayatollah regime says the talks with the United States are useless without results, as it blames the United States for mixed signals. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warns the Ayatollah regime not to make a mistake. The United States is evacuating non-essential staff from its embassies in the Middle East, including Lebanon in particular, as tensions with the Islamic Republic of Iran simmer. U.S. President Donald Trump asserted over the weekend that Tehran has 10 to 15 days to present an acceptable draft to a deal that would bring an end to its nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles programs, in addition to an abrupt end of its support for terror proxies throughout the region.
Today on Iran, bad things will happen if Iran doesn't make
really bad things.
What will that?
I'm not going to talk to you about that.
Okay, can you just know what is the goal if there is a U.S. military
Well, we're
strike?
going to make a deal, or we're going to get a deal one way or the other.
But with a military strike, is it to wipe out their nuclear program?
I'm not going to talk to you about that, but we're either going to get a deal, or it's going to be unfortunate for them.
And you said today 10 days. Have you given them a deadline firm to make a deal?
I would think that would be enough time, 10, 15 days, pretty much maximum.
President Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, is expected to travel to Switzerland on Thursday to receive the Ayatollah regime's response to America's demands. However, there is clear skepticism vis-à-vis Tehran's will to capitulate, irrespective of the stated consequences, which may plausibly result in regime change.
I don't want to use the word frustrated. It's almost because he understands he's got plenty of alternatives. But it's curious. He's curious as to why they haven't, I don't want to use the word capitulated, but why they haven't capitulated. Why under this sort of pressure with the amount of sea power, naval power that we have over there, why they haven't come to us and said, we profess that we don't want a weapon, so here's what we're prepared to do, and yet it's hard to sort of get them to that place.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi responded to the remarks by Witkoff, posting on his X account, quote, "Curious to know why we do not capitulate? Because we are Iranian." Araghchi's spokesman subsequently claimed that Tehran does not see value in the negotiations with the United States unless President Trump capitulates to the Islamic Republic's demands of granting the Ayatollah regime sanctions relief in exchange for limited overtures that would not see an end to Tehran's nuclear enrichment program, ballistic missiles, and support for its terror proxies across the region.
Any negotiation whose aim is to force one side to unilaterally accept the demands of the other is naturally bound to fail. At least in the case of Iran, such an approach will certainly yield no results. We have no benefit in the continuation of the negotiations. Negotiations are beneficial for us when they lead to a result. Our people are under pressure and facing difficulties arising from the unjust sanctions that have been imposed against Iran under the pretext of the nuclear issue. Therefore, reason, logic, and morality dictate that we should act as quickly as possible to lift these sanctions.
The Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman went on to blame President Trump and his team for engaging in contradictions and opposing inconsistent positions. Nevertheless, the Ayatollah regime does intend to attend Thursday's negotiations.
We are currently in the stage of formulating our views, and we hope that within the next 2 or 3 days, in the meeting that Dr. Araghchi has announced, we will be able to hold another round.
Meanwhile, in Tehran, Iranian students desperately hoping for regime change are yet again flooding their campuses in an admirable show of courage after the Ayatollah regime's terror arms murdered over 30,000 protesters in recent weeks.
Not Gaza, not Lebanon. I would sacrifice my life for Iran. We'll fight, we'll die, we'll reclaim Iran.
It is interesting to know that thousands of Iranian citizens received messages absent a caller ID, which read in Persian, "The President of the United States of America is a man of action. Wait for it." The reported anonymous messages coincide with the continued U.S. Air Force aircraft streaming into the region, alongside the arrival of the USS Gerald R. Ford carrier strike group, arriving at the eastern Mediterranean as it rapidly closes in on its expected destination. Separately, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who was scheduled to visit Israel on Saturday, has now postponed his visit, and according to reports, the visit has been rescheduled to next week, Monday, March 2nd. The visit comes as the Islamic Republic of Iran continues to threaten Jerusalem, pledging to strike Israel if the United States were to attack the Islamic Republic. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, during an IDF officer's graduation ceremony, seized the opportunity to highlight Israel's post-October 7th doctrine.
In the 20s of the previous century, the Iron Wall doctrine of Ze'ev Jabotinsky emerged. A defensive wall is our security and military power that is meant to deter and repel enemy attacks. A decade later, the exiting the fence doctrine, inspired by the British officer Ord Wingate, who was a friend of the Hebrew settlement. Exiting the fence became prominent during the days of the underground movements, not just defense, but also proactive attacks against those who sought us harm. The first Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion, who championed deterrence and decisive action, emphasized the need to shift the focus of the war into enemy territory. Now, during the War of Redemption, we have refined this principle tenfold. We went far beyond the borders of the country, deep within enemy territory, deep within the capitals of the enemy, almost all of them. We operated at an unprecedented radius, over very distant range, in order to push existential threats from us, as I promised on the second day of the war. We changed the face of the Middle East. And I tell you, no less important and maybe even more important, we changed ourselves. Today, Israel is stronger than ever. Those who boasted that Israel was as weak as spider webs, well, he no longer exists. He got the answer he deserved. Our iron fist struck hard against every attacker. But my honored guests, despite all the tremendous achievements we have accomplished together, it is important to remember, just as after the great achievements in the Six-Day War, the Middle East now stands at a crossroads. Elements refuse to give up. They are reorganizing, with the aim of challenging us again.
Prime Minister Netanyahu continued by stressing that Israel cannot and does not rest on its laurels.
We are not resting on our laurels. We are alert and well prepared to defend ourselves in the face of any challenge. We are acting in close coordination with our greatest ally, the United States. I clarified to President Trump the principles that Israel believes should guide any negotiations with Iran. We are prepared for any scenario. And one matter is certain, if the Ayatollahs make a mistake and attack us, they will experience a response that they cannot even imagine.
Prime Minister Netanyahu further highlighted additional aspects of Israel's post-October 7th doctrine, as part of which it will not relent from forward defenses.
There are additional principles in our new security concept. Terrorist armies will no longer camp on our borders. We will not tolerate the presence of jihadist elements near us. Buffer zones, or demilitarized zones of several kilometers along the country's borders, are a necessity to reduce the risk of a ground invasion. And we insist on this. In light of all this, the IDF remains in the buffer zones in Lebanon and Syria. And another principle: no more containment of threats, no more CBW, a campaign of low intensity between wars, no more misconceptions of a villa in the jungle, as part of which you hide from the predators that lurk beyond the wall. On the contrary, if you don't go to the jungle comes to you. And we go out and anticipate evil. Therefore, we will act in repeated actions to neutralize risks in the area as needed. We will also act to strengthen alliances with our allies.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News, which is made possible by the generosity of our viewers, just like yourself. Please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and redemption of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hassan wishing you a Shavua Mevorach, and God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.